Hey everybody, this is Luke with Luke Humphrey Running, and I appreciate you listening. Today I'm talking about my Indy Monumental build-up. Um, I'm recording this on the 5th or 6th. What day is it today? I don't even know. Once school started, guys, it's been chaos this week. So it's the 6th, Friday the 6th. So I realize I'm a couple weeks behind where we're currently at, so I want to catch you up really quickly, and I'm just going to do 2 weeks at once here. I'm going to start on August 19th through the 25th. So starting with Monday, the biggest thing is that there's nothing exciting about Monday and Tuesday for that matter, but Monday was coming off of a pretty solid 22 miler that I had put in. And one of the biggest lessons I've learned recently is that if I want to continue training really hard on my workouts especially, then my easy days really have to be truly, truly a recovery day. And, you know, for those of you who know me, you know that I've been on a 9-day training cycle for a long, long time, a good 10 years. And when I was younger, I felt like maybe I could have bounced back a little quicker. And then I went through a period where I didn't even know if I could do every third day a workout. And now I'm back in where that's really kind of my sweet spot. And I'll show you a little bit more of that later on. But big thing here is that I did a long run 22 miler pretty quick. And so when I was younger, I would do that 22 miler, 20 miler, whatever. And then I'd come back the next day and be with the guys, and things would start out okay, but they would always get pretty aggressive. And I think some of that with us was because of Brian Sell, and this is definitely not a blaming Brian at all. But when Brian was at his best, I mean, he could just run hard every single day. And, in Brian's mind, and I'm kind of speaking for Brian here, but it was almost like if I don't run hard, I don't have the talent to beat, X, Y, and Z. And the truth is that he probably would have run faster if he would have backed off. And ultimately, I think that's what kind of cut his career short, is I think he just ran hard all the time. And it just wears you out, and it just kind of got to him, And after the Olympics, I just don't think mentally he really wanted to do it anymore, and physically, I think it was just harder for him to do, and it was just not sustainable for him. But so it's kind of that double-edged sword. It was what got him to the Olympics, but it's probably also what cut his career short. And you think of, like, when Brian retired, it was like, he's fairly old, but now I'm looking at it and I'm way beyond the point where he retired. I'm like, man, that's just so young. He had so many years left. But ultimately, that was what he wanted. So, but the point is that I can't. When we were the team, we were like, oh, well, that's what Brian's doing. That's what we have to do. And then I see the younger guys now, with the instance I just ran with them this week, and it's kind of the same thing, but they're just they're almost 15 years younger than me, and I want to be like, man, you guys can slow these down a little bit, but ultimately I'm along for the ride on those. But when I'm with myself, man, the next day is pretty comfortable. So following that up, I did a 10-4 on Monday, and got I was over 7-minute pace. So literally, when you look at that 22 miler on the Sunday before, I was probably 6:30 pace, maybe right around there. And then the next day, I'm 40 seconds slower per mile. And I feel just fine about that. And then in the PM, I did do 5 strides. That's what I'm trying to do in my second runs. Maybe not the day after a workout. After a long run, I might be able to, but after a workout, the next day is usually a pretty true recovery day for me. So Tuesday was a lot of the same, 10 miles, 4 miles, 7-minute pace and slower. I did do strides on Tuesday as well, so I got the double dose of strides. And then Wednesday, I went back to the track and I did 6 times 800 meters with a 400 meter jog. And I followed that up with 4 by 200 meters hard It was definitely an improvement over the couple weeks ago. So I'm kind of doing some repeat workouts just to try to test and kind of compare to where I was at a few weeks prior. But to summarize this, I mean, the 230, I was 230 average for these 800s. I think the last time I had done that workout, I was like 230, just about 235s on there. So, given that just a few weeks of just consistent training and more volume, I was able to bring those down. And some of it's just, getting back into the swing of doing workouts and stuff like that. The 200s were not as great. I remember I was expecting, I'm going to run these in like 32, 33, and they were more like 35 or 36 seconds. But that's where I was at, and it's hard. I think it's going to be hard to regain that speed because it's been a long time since I've done anything fast. And, I think I wrote about this later on, but my college days are in 408 in the mile. So it's not like I don't ever think I'm going to get back to 408 by any stretch of imagination. But I feel like if I could at one point run 408, me even being like 80% of that's going to be really good, right? So that's kind of where I'm at on that. Thursday was recovery day. So again, I went on the track on Wednesday. Thursday I followed it up with between 11 and 12 miles. It was like 7:14 pace per mile, so it was a lot slower. And then 4 miles in the afternoon, right about the same pace. Friday the 23rd, a little bit quicker. Got 12 miles in at just under 7-minute pace, and then the 4 miles in the afternoon with 6 strides on there. So pretty solid. And that's the big thing I want you to notice is the big difference. Like, so I did a workout, next day, very comfortable, and then the next day I can come back and run a little bit quicker, and it's mostly just because I've recovered better. So as long as I don't force that day after a workout, I can come back the following day and be even stronger. And then usually when I'm in a typical 9-day cycle, then that third day would be another workout or a long run. So in this case, on Saturday, I just did 10 miles. We had a family get together, so I was not able to get a run in. So my brother-in-law wanted to buy my in-laws, his parents, a boat ride up to Clinton River, and then you go out to Lake St. Clair. And if you're on my Instagram, I posted a couple pictures of it. But pretty cool, and they serve you lunch and all that. But it's like a 3-4 hour boat ride on this giant river boat thing, and it was fun for sure. And it was nice just visiting and stuff like that. But it's actually kind of exhausting. So we get back, and then I don't feel like doing anything. So I only got 10 miles in on Saturday, and then Sunday. The 25th, I did a workout of 6 by 1.5 miles marathon pace or marathon effort. I'm really just kind of feeling this out because I've talked about this a little before in my head. I still think like, I still feel like, marathon pace is what it was a few years ago. And that might not be the case. It might be the case, but right now it's more about just kind of knowing what that effort feels like and just kind of seeing what times kind of match up with that. But we got 5:19 pace out of it, which is pretty solid. I mean, that's about right where I need to be in order to qualify 5:18 to 5:19 pace. So, a good start. I think that was my first decent workout at marathon pace as far as doing multiple repeats with decent volume. But like I said, really just kind of going by feel on that. And at that time it was really warm, really humid still, and you just kind of make sure that the effort there is and just see what the pace is. And we've talked about this a lot in the Facebook groups in the run club. So overall, 102 miles for the week. It was great to be back over 100 miles. 2 pretty solid workouts. Right now I'm spacing these out 2 to 3 days between each workouts just because I have a lot of time still. For me, like even 10, like this is like 12 weeks out from here. So that's still a fair amount of time, especially if you're fit all year. And this is why I talk about you don't necessarily need those 16, 18-week segments. You can shorten those up to 10, 12, 14 weeks depending on your overall volume. But for me, I get into shape pretty quick. So I'm kind of deliberately spacing these out a little bit more right now so that I'm not too fit too fast. And I just know my body, and I know that I don't want to be in a position where I'm four weeks out and I'm ready to go right then. So I want to really be building fitness all the way up to race day. But the other thing is too, I really want people to know, take from my log, is the fact that the workout is hard, and then I run the next day easy. That's significantly slower. So if you're running with groups or you're And that's why I hate the things on Strava, like the segments and stuff like that, and just you know, people beat me on course records and stuff. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's fun, but I mean, if that's what drives you to get those things on easy days, it's ultimately going to hurt you, not the person that you are chasing down. So just keep that in mind. Like, your easy day shouldn't be attempting to get a segment or whatever. But I mean, for some people that's their motivation. But if running fast on race day is your motivation, then make sure that those easy days are pretty comfortable. And then so the big thing with that too is once your mileage and your training and your expertise gets up there, you know where that line is, and usually you're a lot better off. But I just see it so many times where people just leave everything out there on their easy days and they just can't recover. And right now I'm seeing a lot of it as we're in September. People are just really whooped because they never really adjusted paces in the summer. They tried to go, 100% from day one. And at first it was easy, but over time it caught up with them. And now they're in a position where they're kind of behind the eight ball. And it's, well, do I take time off and recover? Or do I push forward? And so you really can avoid that if you just don't get in those competitions on easy days. And so that's the one nice thing I love about kind of running by myself right now is I can completely dictate how hard or how easy a run is. And I shouldn't say that, because even with a group, I can slow down. I can make that choice to slow down. But I'm like you guys, sometimes ego gets in my way. But right now we're just running by myself. It's fine. I can control that, and I don't feel guilty about running slower than my teammates or anything. But workout days, I will admit that it'd be nice to have that group back. All right, so that was it for that week. And then August 26th through September 1st, which was about a week ago. Again, nothing crazy, easy 10 and 4, averaged over 7-minute pace on both. And so just keep that in perspective, over 7-minute pace, that's about 2 minutes slower than my marathon pace. And I recognize too that, like, if you're a 4.5, 5 hour marathoner, that no, I don't expect you necessarily to be 2 minutes slower than your marathon pace, because you literally would be doing mainly walking or walk jogging and things like that. So I do recognize that comes down, but the point is slower than marathon pace and slower. It's okay to run slower on the easy days. My biggest thing is don't run so slow that your form is like changed. You purposely are now understriding and it's not comfortable. You're way less economical. I'd rather see you just run comfortably and take it from there. But again, easy days easy, hard days hard. Tuesday 12 and 4, a lot of the same things. Strides on my afternoon run, nothing too exciting. Wednesday, another track day. This time I did 8x1K. So I've really been trying to just increase the actual repeat distance, which is then going to add more volume overall to the workout as well. So I did this 8x1K and 4x200s. Definitely hurt again. It was one of those workouts where I literally just had to focus on the one I was in. Told myself to get to 6 and then I could quit. And then I got to 6 and I said, okay, do this one, then you can quit. Finished 7, realized I hate odd numbers, so I finished it. And that's true. I really don't. I don't like giving odd numbers in schedules. I don't like writing odd numbers. So if you say, well, why am I doing 8 when it should be 7? Sometimes that's it, because I really don't like just writing odd numbers. But anyway, about 5-minute pace for the Ks, and the 200s were in 34:35, which was a little bit better, which is good, I feel like, because I'm doing more volume at a little bit faster pace, and then coming back and running those 200s just as hard as what I was on the shorter stuff. So that's a good sign for me. It's been a long time. Again, it's been a long time since I made dedicated effort towards speed, especially trying to run really fast after being tired. And just a side note, when I was talking about I ran 4:08 in a mile in college, I mean, outdoors we would do a K workout like this, and those Ks would be, I would say, like 250. So they'd be more like 440 pace per mile. Extrapolate that down to what a K would be. So about 250. And then we'd run 200s like that too. And I could run 25, 26 all day. So it's hard. And I feel like it would be smooth. And this, like now, these don't feel smooth at all. I definitely feel some hitch in my giddy up on these. I don't. It's very forced, I feel like, and that's another thing. Just trying to learn how to run relaxed again, because when you run relaxed, you actually will speed up quite nicely. All right, so that was on Wednesday the 28th. Thursday, again, guys, same 12 and 4. Actually, no, it's 12 today. I ran about 7:10 pace. We actually went up to our cottage one last time before school started. We were hoping to get in a lot of swimming, but unfortunately it was cold, and the child did not swim at all. Or actually, I should say she tried, but after 10 minutes she was shivering, so I had to pull her out, even though she's like, no, I'm fine. But no, I don't think so. Hey, Josephine, I don't think so. All right, so just 12 miles, drove up, and actually we got to the cottage. It was late, and I realized we forgot some stuff, so we had to drive a half hour north further into Alpena, go to Meyer, and then or Myers, as us Michiganders say, we always put an S on it. So it's Kroger's, it's Myers, it's Walmart's, it's not Target's though. I don't think we put an S on Target, but we put an S on everything. And then we had to go get some supplies, come back, have dinner, and I wasn't going to run, especially because there are some bear up there. So I don't really want to run in the evening when I can't exactly see what's going on. All right, so Friday, woke up 10 miles easy. Weather was really nice. Guys, it was so amazing up there. It was about 50 degrees, beautiful weather. Humidity was knocked out. Awesome. And then 4 miles easy in the afternoon, did strides. Saturday, this was a big one for me, guys. So I finally did it. I've been coming up to the cottage for 8 years. It's my wife's family cottage. And when she was training for Ironman, she would bike around it a couple times. And she also swam across the lake, and her dad would kind of go across on the boat with her. So I've always wanted to run the lake. And there's a ski hill on the south end. It's called Mount Moriah. It's not open anymore. And people who actually ski in mountains will say that's not a ski hill, but it's a pretty decent hill. And it's at the very top of the south end of the lake. So depending on which way you go, so if I would run counterclockwise, it would be a lot bigger hill to go up than I'd get on the back. So I ran clockwise, but you guys, it's rolly. It's super, super rolly out there. And so I was a little worried. And they all said it's about 20 miles, so I didn't exactly know what to expect. And I was kind of worried it was going to end up being like 30 miles. And then I was kind of worried it was going to be like 18 miles. But it settled on being 22 miles, and actually stopped at 22 miles. It could have made it 23, I think, but I said that's enough, and I walked it in. It was good. 6:34 pace, 22 miles, very, very hilly. It was nice getting all that elevation change in, and I'll definitely post that in the blog. And then Sunday, just wrapped it up, 10 and 4 from the cottage, all over 7-minute pace. I did a really good job recovering. My first mile would be like 7:50 pace. And then coming back in, I'd be like 6:40, 6:50 pace. So it was a gradual pickup, and not forcing anything, just really letting my body warm up and just getting a rhythm and going there. But average pace come out to about 7-minute pace. So that's exactly what I wanted to do. Week overall, another great week. 108 miles for the week. And what I love about this is I'm missing a couple runs, but I'm not freaking out about it. I'm still getting 108 miles in for the week. I'm doing much, much better at planning my days. I'll get a lot done. My wife tends to run early in the morning, so I dedicate that time to doing some work. I know my best work comes between like 5 a.m. and about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And so I really try to do anything important I really have to do. I try to put in those hours. And so I get up, I have some coffee, and I can actually do some really good email answering, some really thoughtful responses. But I also do a lot of my schedule writing at that time while she's running. And then like blog writing, stuff like that I try to do then, because that's really when I think the best. So, but I've just gotten much better at blocking out that time for that. And then when I run. We're doing a much better job as a family, balancing my wife's training, my training, getting Josephine ready for school. This wasn't an issue then, but it is now as school started. But we're definitely full team, and it's great. It's working so much better than it ever has in the past. And so it's nice too that my daughter's a little bit older now. She can do some of the things on her own too. So everybody pitches in a little bit, but you guys all know what I'm talking about on that. It's just it's just nice having that continuity and just having that support. And so it's a beautiful thing to have, and it's very nice to have, because I see so many people on the Facebook group that don't necessarily have that with their families and stuff, and that's too bad. It's always I've always felt like if it was important enough for my wife, it was important enough for me, and thankfully she feels the same way for me. So so we'll get off on that. But main thing here is I'm really happy with 108 miles for the week. I'm proud of myself for being up at the cottage and being disciplined. It'd be very easy to just sit on the dock all day, but I got it done. It was nice. It was nice having my brother-in-law up there. First time he's been up there in a couple of years, so it was good. I did miss out a little bit on my core and mobility that week. I wasn't up to there. Being up at the cottage did kind of hurt that a little bit, and plus I forgot to bring some of my stuff. Excuses, I know. However, my training was good. My nutrition was solid. I was staying hydrated. I was doing a lot of the little stuff that I don't usually do when I'm up there. I usually just kind of shut it all down, and that did not happen. So I'm excited. It was a week where it could have easily been a big setback, just because we went up there for 4 days. But it ended up being just fine. And now school started, and the next one I come out with will be that first week of school. But then I'm almost at the end of this week. But so far so good. I feel fairly confident. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of guys running, a lot of women too, but just saying what I know as far as the guys running, guys that I've trained with in the past, guys that are friends, a ton of people that are trying to chase that sub 219, which I'm excited about. I think the more the merrier on that. Well, to a point, as long as they can do bottles effectively, I think it'll be good. But if there's 30, 40 people looking to run a qualifier, that's all good, I think, because the bigger group you have, it just makes it easier to kind of stick in that group and hang on. It kind of makes it, it's a lot easier than doing it by yourself, that's for sure. So I'm excited. I'm motivated. I am excited to see last chance qualifiers come up in the next week or so, and it'll be interesting. So hopefully you guys are all getting some better weather now. Those guys on the East Coast, praying for you. Can't be pleasant, getting those strong winds and that rain and stuff. I know it's wreaking havoc on you guys, so stay safe, and we're all thinking of you. So all right, that's it for this one, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks for listening so much, and if you care to, go to my site, lukehumphrey.running.com, check out training plans, coaching, more blog posts, order a book if you don't have one already. You should have a book, and we'll go from there. So thanks a lot for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. All right, bye-bye.